number one. In extra innings, Duval, a walk-off home run. And then last night, great relief pitching. Iglesias to save. The Reds, for the first time all year, have won 3 in a row. Now they try and make it 4. We welcome you to Dodger Stadium in a cloudy, rainy day in Los Angeles. The Reds and the Dodgers in Game 2 of a 4-game set. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. And you know the story tonight, the big story, and really one of the big stories in all of baseball, Chris. Matt Harvey making his Cincinnati Reds debut after the trade, coming from the New York Mets.
Well, every Reds fan knows about it.
Yeah.
Maybe every baseball fan out there, you're exactly right. The thing about Matt Harvey, though, is the guy that was once so dominant, was supposed to really lead the New York Mets to heights that they hadn't seen in a long, long time. He was injured. He's fell by the wayside. Tonight, let's not try to do too much, Matt Harvey. Back off a little bit. They're only expecting maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 innings out of Harvey overall. He's got to make sure that he does it pitch by pitch and not get wrapped up in trying to go out there and throw a perfect game.
Well, that means we're going to see plenty of the bullpen. Yeah. And right now, this Reds bullpen is throwing the ball as well as anybody in the league. And it's not just the last 3 games. Those numbers are staggering. But over the last 2 weeks, that ERA is 2.7.
Well, it's who's out there throwing the ball well, and it's also how you're using them right now. And I think that's a big key for Jim Riggleman. He's got pieces that he can depend on. Wandy Peralta's come in and thrown strike. Phil Floro has been a guy that has surprised everybody. And you know, if you can get a lead at the end of the game and run out Raisel Iglesias, he's got about as good a stuff as any closer in baseball. So it's a good, solid group of players down there. They're going to be taxed, though. Tonight, you know, perhaps with the short outing by Matt Harvey. Tomorrow, you never know what's going to happen with Homer Bailey, so you've always got to hold something in reserve.
Kenta Maeda gets the ball tonight for the Dodgers. We've seen this guy really good, but lately not so good.
Well, I mean, he can be good and bad like any major league pitcher out there. He's a guy that is not overpowering. He averages 91, 92 on the fastball. He's got your typical 6-pitch mix. I'll get into that later on, but he mixes them up a lot. He really likes his cutter and his slider to right-handers and his fastball and his changeup to left-handers.
When we come back, if you want to know what's going on with the Reds, Joey Votto, Scooter Gennett, only one man to turn to, Jim Day.
lineup, only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And my Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. The month of May has been kind to Billy Hamilton. The numbers are good, batting in that 9 spot. 346 average, 4 walks, and the on-base percentage. Listen, that's not going to continue, but if it's up above 320, things are going good for number 6. And things have been going well for the Reds of late. 3 straight victories. Billy contributed last night, but no one more offensively than Scooter Gennett. He had the biggest hit of the game. It was a 2-out, 2 RBI double. And then he followed it up with a home run. He has a home run in each of his last 3 games. First time in his career. Monday, a solo home run off of Gesellman. Tuesday, 2-run job off of Robles. And then last night, that solo home run off of Hudson in the 8th. It was one of 3 hits he had last night, which takes us to our Elk and Elk storyline. Gennett this season, he has 5 games with 3 or more hits. That's tied for first in the National League. And keep in mind, last season, 5 games with just 3 or more hits in 141 games. So Scooter a hitting, and the Reds of late have been winning. I don't know about you, but I haven't been this intrigued over a Reds game in quite some time. What will Matt Harvey bring to the table? Reds go for 4 in a row. Fourth straight victory with Matt Harvey on the hill, facing Kenta Maeda. As we check out Jim Riggleman's lineup tonight, brought to you by Nissan. Jesse Winker will lead off. Jose Peraza batting second. 3, 4, and 5, Votto, Gennett, Eugenio Suarez. Scott Schebler in right field tonight, back in the starting lineup. Tucker Barnhart will hang the signs for Matt Harvey, who will bat 8th. Billy Hamilton, once again, batting 9th. As we go upstairs to the gentleman that will call it, Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. And Kenta Maeda on the mound here tonight. 2 up, 2 down. It'll be his 7th start. He's pitched in 1 game, Chris, out of the bullpen, and an ERA fractionally over 4 runs allowed per 9 innings.
He's a 30-year-old that has had some experience. It's only his 3rd year in the major leagues over here, but he has extensive experience in the Japanese professional league. A guy that really can control the strike zone a little bit, although he's up around 3 walks per 9 innings right now. A guy that's not overpowering. He's going to throw a lot of different pitches. He kind of comes up with pitches as needed, and as I said in the open, he likes his changeup and fastball to left-handers. and that slider is going to be a big pitch to him, and a cutter. You know, both those pitches kind of blend together, but that'll be a very important pitch to right-handers tonight. Again, cool night. Ball doesn't travel very good. This is a good pitcher's opportunity here this evening.
First pitch swinging, Jesse Winker, a fly ball down the right field line towards the corner, and that is a fair ball. Hit off the wall down there, and Winker's going to end up with a 3-base hit. No, he slams on the brakes. Don't know if Winker was standing there watching that, not running hard out of the gate. That ball had to bounce at least 50 feet away, if not further than that, from Yasiel Puig.
Well, he's not wasting any time. Good scouting report on the part of the Reds, and know that he's going to come right after him. And I think he did eyeball it a little bit, Winker did, and he's thinking, hey, that's going to be fair or foul. I'm going to take a look right here. When it hits the wall and stays in play, Winker still has a chance to get to third base. In fact, he takes a big turnaround second and decides maybe with nobody out, why take a shot right here? But if you bust it out of the box, I think you're standing on third.
Certainly Billy Hatcher will be the first guy to tell you that Winker should be standing on third. But he's at second, and now Jose Peraza, leadoff double by Winker. Peraza got a night off last night until the very end, came in late defensively, but certainly a rare game where Peraza is not in the starting lineup. A .281 batter, 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in, having a good year, both at the plate and in the field. Alan Porter calling the balls and strikes tonight. Jeremy Rehack there on the appeal down to first base. Angel Hernandez is a crew chief out at second, and Chris Conroy the umpire at third. Leadoff double by Winker. Game number 2 of a 4-game series over the weekend in Los Angeles. Of course, Peraza, one-time Dodger farmhand, and very, very good numbers for him in the early part of his career against his one-time team. One of 2 teams Peraza spent time with, along with the Atlanta Braves. Swing and a miss, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Maeda is the type of pitcher that really pitched to the hitter's weaknesses rather than his strengths. Last night, Walker Buehler was a young man, 23-year-old, with a fastball that was up around 95 to 97 miles an hour. He just kind of cut it loose and challenged you. Maeda's a different guy. He kind of goes for those little parts of the strike zone that he knows the hitter's at the weakness. And for Peraza, that's a breaking ball away.
Peraza came to the Dodgers along with Alex Wood, Luis Avian, Jim Johnson. Bronson Arroyo was in that deal. It was a huge trade. Matt Latos was in that deal. A 3-way deal. The Dodgers and the Marlins were involved along with Atlanta. And then that's where the Reds got him from, along with Scott Schebler, in another 3-way deal that involved the Dodgers, the White Sox, and of course the Reds. And Winker is going to end up at third after all. On a breaking ball in the dirt, that'll be a wild pitch on Maeda.
Well, you had to figure a breaking ball was coming after it came up and into Peraza on the last pitch. He just tries to snap this bad boy off a little bit too hard and bounces it way in front of the home plate. Did not give Grandal much of a chance to block it at all. Grandal's looking at a little divot out in the dirt right there, pointing it out to Peraza, saying nobody blocks that ball. I think it's right there.
Came back with that same breaking ball again. And Peraza's out of there on strikes.
I think that's the first time I've ever seen Jose Peraza stop and say something to an umpire. Really what he wants right here is not whether he went or not, but he wants an appeal to first base to see if the first base umpire had a different or better view. Or a better view and a different opinion. Not going to happen.
So one away in the inning, a runner at third base, and now it'll be Joey Votto. Votto takes up and away, ball one, a .281 batter, 5 home runs, 20 runs batted in for Votto. On base percentage up at .402. He has Winker at third with 1 out here in the opening inning.
This is one of those situations that really Votto should be a guy that you would think would excel tremendously. Runner at third base, less than 2 outs. How often do you get him in? Not so well this year for Votto. Major league average is only about 50%. Votto's still looking to pick another one up right here.
Votto out there having a little fun with Yasmani Grandal. This is a funny bit here. Started to go after the ball, saw Grandal start to go after it, and now he's going to jump there in front of him, knock it with his bat like a hockey puck. Man, he surprises you, doesn't he? Fans in Philadelphia with a baseball, and faking, flipping it in the stands.
Gotta have fun.
Gotta have fun. And that one's shot into left center field. It'll fall into base hit. So Votto delivers. And the Reds off to a 1-0 lead here in the opening inning.
So I guess Jim Day probably ought to be able to ask Joey Votto at the end of the ballgame what's more fun, battling Grandal for a foul ball or lacing this base hit to left center field to drive a run in.
I think that would be a question that Jim would not ask him. I mean, believe me, we've seen through the years, Jim Day starts to do interviews with Joey Votto. They are some of the all-time classics. I mean, the friendship they've had lo these many years and the relationship. It's always great TV. We're about due to have Jim to have another sit down with Joey here sometime soon, aren't we?
I would think so.
I would think so too. So now Scooter Gennett down a strike, showing Bunt his first time up. He did anything but that here last night. Boy, Gennett delivered the goods. Had another 3-hit game. Jim Day talked about that a short time ago. He has more 3-hit games than any player in baseball, tied for the most. But he came up big late in the 6th inning with the Reds down by a run, a 2-out, 2-run double to give him the lead, and then some icing on the cake with that solo home run. That's called a foul ball. Had a solo home run in the 8th inning here. Joey Votto continues to move up the list, of course, in every category in the history of the Reds franchise, and so he's just matched Brandon Phillips with 851 runs batted in, 9th most. See Johnny Lee Bench at the top of that list, spending his entire career as a Red, the Reds Hall of Fame catcher, 13.76. And Tony Perez right behind.
That's an interesting duo over there at first base. You've got Cody Bellinger, a left-handed hitting, young left-handed hitting first baseman. Joey Votto, one of the best left-handed hitting first basemen in the baseball. I can tell you that Dave Roberts hopes that those two guys are talking hitting right now, because Votto has so much to offer.
Broken bat, flare into short right center. This will fall in a base hit. And Votto advances on to second base.
I'm surprised that Votto is only on second base. He must have had no idea at all where Yasiel Puig was playing. And Puig was playing very deep. I mean, after the 2 hits that Scooter Gennett had last night, including the home run, they've got Puig batting or playing way out near the warning track. And all it does is take a glance at the outfielders before each pitch to know where they're positioned. This is one of the things that really gets under the skin of Jim Riggleman, is the way this ball club has run the bases.
I mean, we've seen it in this inning now twice already, where Winker was walking out of the box trying to umpire and determine whether it was fair or foul. I mean, look, he came around to score, so, you know, one might argue, okay, what's the big deal? Well, to Jim Riggleman, it's a big deal. And right now, I think it's safe to say he feels like Votto should be standing at third base.
Well, it would certainly make it a lot easier on Suarez. I think Suarez wants him at third base, too. Want to pick up an easy RBI.
Suarez, 25 of them. Had 15 on the just completed homestand. Reds in front 1-0 and hunting for more. Straight up in the air. Over near the Dodger third base side dugout and off the top of it. Take a look at LA on defense, presented by Ford. Same outfield we saw last night. In fact, the same infield we saw last night. And Yasmani Grandal for a second straight night behind the plate. So the only change, of course, on the mound. Maeda carrying the sign with his catcher Grandal, and the 0-2 misses low and in. A year ago, Maeda went 13-6. He had one save, and that one save, strangely enough, came against the Reds. He made 25 starts, only pitched in 4 games out of the bullpen. But boy, did he get it done during the postseason, pitching out of the Dodger pen. He won 2 games in 9 postseason relief appearances, and only allowed 1 run in nearly 11 innings. Oh, and by the way, he struck out 10 and only walked 2. So when they really needed him to come in games and get the job done through the division series, the LCS, ultimately the World Series, losing in 7 to Houston, he did the job. Ball, 2 strikes on Suarez, 2 on, 1 out. Hooked foul. Got to pay attention down there.
Well, you're exactly right about what Maeda was able to give the Dodgers last year, Tom, though, but he's not a pitcher that historically has gone deep into games at all. In fact, he only threw more than 5 innings just 7 times all year long last year. So you may say he's kind of a modern pitcher, a 5 and fly kind of guy. You get to the bullpen, but if he can put up a low number through the first 5 innings, Dodgers will take that every time. You see what he tries to do? He tries to throw more of those 4-seam fastballs up. It seems to be more of a trendy pitch, even on people that don't throw especially hard. If you've got good backspin on your 4-seamer, and if it doesn't sink, that's the spot for it, right at the upper end of the strike zone.
Two on, 1 out, 1 in. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Suarez. And he went around. That's strike 3.
Same pitch he got Peraza on.
Right fielder number 43, Scott Schebler.
Well, he must look mighty good leaving his hand, because, you know, it's easy to sit up here and watch it on replay and sit at home and watch it on replay. But, you know, when you see it up here on home, it's nowhere near the strike zone.
You always keep in mind that batters have about 1/5 of a second to make their mind up as to whether they're going to pull the trigger or not when they see a ball come out of a pitcher's hand.
All right, so now the left-handed batting Scott Schebler. 267 batting average. 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. We brought up earlier that Schebler came along with Peraza from the Dodger organization. There are a lot of people around here that were talking about Schebler before the game last night, those familiar with the Dodger organization, and felt like this young man would have really helped this major league team had he stayed and not traded to Cincinnati.
Well, at that time, the Dodgers were not a team that were kind of trying to collect fringe prospects. I mean, they're a team that was going out and just stacking their lineup as best they could with high-priced free agents. And Schebler looked like he needed a little work in order to round himself into more of a solid major league player, and he got that playing time here in Cincinnati. He may not have gotten that time out here on the West Coast. I mean, his athleticism is really what stands out for you at first. What he needs is reps, and plenty of them. Hey, Maeda just doesn't look as comfortable pitching against left-handers, even here in the first inning, as he has against right-handers. All three left-handers that he's faced so far have reached base. The two right-handers have struck out.
Three and two now on Schebler. Another left-handed batter due up next. A switch hitting Barnhart will step in from the left side should we get that far here in the opening inning. Reds out to a 1-0 lead. Trying to get Votto and Gennett home with 2 outs, 3-2 pitch upcoming. I'm sure Matt Harvey's not complaining in that dugout before he ever throws a pitch wearing a Cincinnati Reds uniform. His team has already put him in front. Pretty good rip there by Schebler. Once more fouling it away. The count remains at 3-2.
What Maeda is doing right here is giving Schebler what he's looking for, but he's putting it a little bit higher than Schebler's comfort level. Schebler is one of those odd left-handers who is just a really good high ball hitter. There was timeout, and Votto took third base. He thought time was in, but there he was not back after Schebler had called timeout. Schebler called timeout, or asked Alan Porter for timeout, was granted time, and then he got back into the batter's box, but Maeda went to the back of the mound to clean his cleats and mess with the rosin bag. There's the timeout. So now Maeda is going to go ahead and move around over here on the mound. Now the umpire has to get you back into time. He's going to have to point at the pitcher to say you're back in. He never did that.
3-2 again on Schebler. Runners get started, and there's ball 4.
Well-earned walk there.
Catcher number 16, Tucker Barnhart.
Now Maeda will walk off behind the mound, and the training staff is going to come out.
I think that's an interpreter. For Rick
Pardon.
Honeycutt.
Yes.
Rick Honeycutt's had a lot of Japanese pitchers here in Los Angeles, but I'm not so sure he's picked it up yet to the point where he can go out there and figure out what's going on, or at least with a bases loaded situation, and deliver the right message.
It's been an ugly inning for Maeda.
But you know what? There were some ugly innings like this for Tyler Mahle last night.
Yep.
And he kept pitching out of them and pitching out of them. And I can tell you that the Dodgers, especially Dave Roberts, their manager, is so frustrated right now, because that was one of those games last night that he just felt like he was one hit away from being totally in control of the ball game.
But really, you talk to the Dodger people, and they'll tell you that's been the #1 issue with this team through nearly their first 40 games. They've had a lot of innings in a lot of situations like last night. You know, they left them loaded in the first, left them loaded in the second, left 2 more on in the third inning last night. 8 runners left on base in the first 3 innings of the game. All right, here's Barnhart. He looks at a slow breaking ball that drops in there, strike 1.
It's a good looking pitch. Last thing probably Barnhart was looking for, and the last thing he was going to swing at on an 0-0 count. Everybody's looking for a piece of cheese.
Quickly 0-2
on a changeup.
Harvey stands in the on-deck circle. He bats in the number 8 spot. So naturally, Barnhart is the 7th red to bat. And a lot like last night. And Chris made reference it might be ugly here in the opening inning for Maeda, as it was for Mahle last night. Mahle allowed the 1 run, and that turned out to be the only run he gave up. Maeda trying to survive this opening inning. And it looks like he will. The Reds get 1, they leave him loaded. Matt Harvey's first start as a Cincinnati Red when we come back. Tonight, I mean, everybody's in action, full slate of games on a Friday night in May. But the fact that Matt Harvey just comes over from the New York Mets in the middle of this week while the Mets were in Cincinnati for Devin Mesoraco, and here he is making his first appearance as a Cincinnati Red at Dodger Stadium on this May the 11th.
Well, what the Reds are hoping is that the change of uniform will have a little effect on the change of success that Harvey has had so far here this year, and last year for that matter. Earned run average of 7, he's being hit around a little bit. But if you look within the numbers, he still's got the strikeout pitch. He still has got a guy who's got some savvy on the mound because he's been out there quite a long time. He's now 29 years old, 3 games under 500 in his major league career. But the earned run average overall is still a very tidy 3.6. So that's based on excellent first 3 years in the major leagues, age 23, 24, and then after he missed age 25, coming back in age 26.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for Harvey. You go back to when he broke in 2012 and had 26 starts in 13, missed all of 14 with a Tommy John, came back strong in 15, made the All-Star team. But then another injury problem began, and that's around the scapula bone in his right shoulder. They call it a thoracic syndrome is the bottom line, and many will tell you, and certainly his agent Scott Boros will tell you, he believes, although no evidence to prove it, that it takes much longer to come back from that injury, the one he's still trying to come back from now, than Tommy John surgery. Most guys are coming back from Tommy John surgery, and we talked about it, Chris, a lot, healthier than they've ever been, and basically in a little more than a year's time.
Well, it only affects your elbow and when you release the baseball, when you have Tommy John surgery, when you have other things going on in and around your shoulder and your core, then it affects how you're able to practice and how you're able to repeat your delivery. And you know what Harvey's going to have to do is probably take some time to get back to the point where he can smooth out his delivery to the point where he can command the fastball. And the only way you do that is you repeat the same thing over and over.
3-1 pitch is popped up by Chase Utley, a long run for Winker. It's in the air a long time, and so the first batter, an out for Matt Harvey. So, you know, you go back to the 13, and we mentioned that Tommy John, he misses all the 14 season, and then 2 years ago is when this thoracic outlet syndrome surgery took place. Had the stress injury to the scapula bone, then last year missed 2.5 months. He came back in late September. Worked out of the bullpen for the first time in his major league career last year. And now he'll turn his attention to Jock Peterson. Strike one.
Peterson showed everybody who wants to look that he's a guy that will chase that high fastball. I mean, you've got three guys in this lineup that are really trying to pop the ball out of the ballpark. Peterson's one of them. Cody Bellinger is another one, and Yasiel Puig. I mean, you got to, you know, it's almost like the jitters of last night with Matt Harvey out there. Tyler Mahle, family in tow, pitching in Dodger Stadium for the first time after growing up a Dodger fan. And now Matt Harvey pitching for the first time for another organization than the New York Mets in his entire professional career. Trying to make a great impression, knowing that the eyes of baseball are on him. I imagine that even at his age, 29, as experienced as he is, he's got some butterflies going on.
Hit off the end of the bat into short right field, and Schebler waits on it, and two quick outs for Matt Harvey. Let's take a look at the rest of the Dodger lineup that Harvey will be facing tonight. Presented by Nissan. Grandal coming up. Matt Kemp off to a big start. Cody Bellinger and then Chris Taylor. A latter third of Muncy, the third baseman. Puig hitting barely over 200, barely off the disabled list, all the way in the A spot, and Maeda batting number 9. Yasmani Grandal, the batter. .274 hitter, 5 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Very good on base percentage for Grandal. You see there at .381. Tapper to the right side. Harvey will get to the bag, and how about that start?
I like it.
Harvey 1-2-3 in the opening inning. Big deep breath and a 1-0 lead.
yesterday against the Dodgers in the bottom of the first inning, and lo and behold, he's going to lead off the second. I mean, it's always a good time when you're a starting pitcher and you bat either in the first inning or in the second.
Sure. So you see Harvey so far this year, of course, with the Mets, 2 of 7. Harvey's an outstanding athlete, as was his father. In fact, they went to the same high school outside of New York City in Connecticut. And his dad would be his coach in baseball, but his father also an outstanding football player and baseball player, played both sports at Connecticut. Sharp comebacker to the mound and played well by Maeda, or that fouled him, one or the other. That ball smoked.
Center fielder number 6, Billy Hamilton.
If you weren't with us here last night, Billy Hamilton was retired his first 2 times up. And then in the 7th inning, he had a triple down the right field line that knocked in a run. Well, you know, they keep a stopwatch on all these kinds of things on virtually everything that goes on now in baseball with StatCast and so forth, and GameCast and all that kind of thing. It was the fastest home to third time all year long, fractionally beating the time of D. Gordon, who did it in 10.86. Look at that sprint speed, almost 30 feet per second. That is incredible. That equates to roughly about 20 miles per hour. And I'm glad somebody else does the math on that. Told you about Gordon. I believe that Hamilton has 7 of the top 11 fastest times over the last 4 years that have been recorded. Maeda gets a strikeout of Billy Hamilton, and that's his 3rd.
Number 33, Jesse Winker.
So the first 2 retired by the Dodger right-hander, and that'll bring up Winker, who hit a ball off the top of the right field wall and wound up with a double, scored the only run of the game.
The only thing that I find very interesting about watching Jesse Winker in the batter's box is that he is fairly close to the plate, and it almost challenges the pitcher to throw me inside, and that's where he likes to pitch. It's amazing how he can get the barrel of the bat on a ball that is in off the plate, like he did in the very first inning, first pitch of the ball game. I mean, a lot of left-handed hitters, when they want to get to that inside pitch, they throw their hips open, they step in the bucket, and that's the way they get to it. Winker just brings his hands in. That's something that normally you don't see out of a major league hitter until after he's been around quite a long time.
3-1 the count on Winker. And a full count. Jam shot pop up, so got way in on him that time. And that'll be a 1-2-3 inning for Maeda. 1-0 Reds in front after an inning and a half.
The infield, Suarez, Peraza, Gennett, Votto, Tucker Barnhart hanging the signs for Matt Harvey. I had a lengthy conversation with Tucker Barnhart about preparing to catch Matt Harvey. He said tonight would be a little easier than catching younger guys when he would have to go back and look at minor league scouting reports for the younger guys. Quite a track record for Matt Harvey, so he was able to look at extensive scouting reports, and he said he spent a lot of time looking at video of when Matt Harvey was successful, or at his most successful days with the Mets. He said it is going to be a little bit of a feeling out process. Might let Matt Harvey call some pitches at times, and he said he might have to utilize some more mound visits, but man, he was pumped up to catch this guy.
Well, a good start for that duo thus far. A 1-2-3 opening inning in Harvey's Reds debut tonight. When Harvey came back from that Tommy John surgery, he was named the Sporting News Comeback Player of the Year. In fact, the players themselves voted him the National League's Comeback Player of the Year. There's a fly ball in the right field. And on 14 pitches, Harvey has 4 out so far here tonight.
Well, efficient is being a big thing right here tonight, because you know he's on a low pitch limit, number one. But this is a good chance for Harvey here. You get to a new ball club. You're coming in and facing a very inconsistent offense in the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're playing them at home, which is even better on a rainy, kind of overcast, heavy air night where the ball doesn't fly. You don't have to really be too careful. You can just kind of go after them if you do get behind on the count. But right now he's throwing mostly strikes.
So now he'll turn his attention to Bellinger, the first baseman. He had a rough time of it last night with Red starter Tyler Mahle, who just beat him all night long with fastballs, and this one straight up in the air, a mile high. But will stay in the ballpark, well short of the warning.
He doesn't see it.
They never found it. Nope. And Bellinger digging hard for third, and here's a throw. He's in there safely. Once the ball started to come down, you could tell that Schebler was not directly underneath him.
Well, Schebler gave a couple of signs, and I don't think that Billy Hamilton saw him because he was probably tracking the baseball. But Schebler gives a sign out there like, where is it? When you put your glove up, Bellinger's angry at himself. Now, Schebler doesn't see it. Say, well, where is it? And Hamilton, meanwhile, is looking at the baseball. So, a gimme triple right there. It puts the Mets in a position to tie this game. Bellinger was pulled from the game. You may have read about it earlier this season, just a couple of weeks ago, for not hustling, quote unquote. He turned a double, or a potential triple, into a double. That wasn't going to happen this time. And Dave Roberts was the first one to applaud that effort when he saw him slide into third base.
All right, so Chris Taylor, the shortstop, takes a fastball outside. Bad break there for Harvey. It should have been the second out of this inning. But now Bellinger stands at third base, and of course there's no error charged on that play. Nobody touched the ball. So Bellinger given credit for his third triple of this year.
Yeah, it's like losing a ball in the sun or having the wind blow it so much it becomes uncatchable.
One and two on Taylor. And oh boy. Very, very close there, but it's ball 2. Let's take a look and see where exactly that thing missed. Pitch number 4 says outside. Harvey's pitched not only in the biggest city and the biggest stage in New York, but he's pitched for New York during the World Series and pitched very well in that World Series against Kansas City. So no game or two moment going to be too big for him, and he gets a call this time.
Well, it's about time because each of the last three pitches could have gone either way. Harvey thought he had the one on the outside corner. The pitch before this was right at the knees. And here a high breaking ball that just touches the top of the zone, and he is going to be rung up by Alan Porter.
Big swing on the first pitch to the third baseman Max Muncy, and he fouls it back out of play. So now Harvey an out away from pitching around a misplay in the outfield or a misread in the outfield.
Or no read in the outfield.
Better put.
He's been around a little bit. He's 27 years old now. He had a couple of years part-time player with the Oakland A's.
Runner at third, tying run. 2 outs, 1 ball, and 1 strike on Muncy. Lined into center, but Hamilton will get it, and the inning is over. So with a runner at third and only 1 out, no damage done. Harvey and the Reds lead at 1-0. This year, take a look at some of the numbers. They started, of course, so poorly, and we talked about this overall, their numbers. How significantly they have improved, but on the road now, their last 4 piling up the runs. With a healthy Scooter, Gennett goes a long way in helping your offense now that shoulder of his is getting much better.
Well, the kind of 2-out hits the Reds got last night was really the difference in the ball game. That and, of course, the bullpen effort. Gennett's shoulder being one thing, and obviously the next guy to want to come around would be Adam Duvall, who is not in the lineup tonight. Laying off that last pitch is what has made a huge difference for Jose Peraza.
Look down the third base line towards the corner, and That's a foul ball.
He's always been very quick on an inside fastball or anything on the inner part of the plate. And sometimes, you know, he's so cognizant of not wanting to strike out that he takes weak swings on pitches that are away and makes soft contact. A lot of times those balls fall in because we haven't seen right fielders really with enough confidence that they've got him read right that'll play in shallow enough. Puig is in a little bit, but not usually enough. But just by figuring out what that outside part of the strike zone is and not expanding it by 2, 3, or 6 inches out there, making contact, then you make the pitcher bring it in a little bit, and then he can use his bat speed to do a little more damage. That's a pretty good group of number 2 hitters right there.
2-2 on Jose. And that ball is scalded into left field. This will go all the way to the wall. And Peraza in standing up with a double to begin the Cincinnati third. Oh, what a good year this guy's having.
Well, I think you're going to see it blossom more and more because as he gets more confident, he's a strong kid. If you ever shaken hands with Jose Peraza, you realize how strong his hands and his wrists are. And he's got plenty of pop. We've seen that over the last few years. When he gets his pitch, he can launch it a long way. Slowing the game down has been the problem. He's been able to do that now.
Joey Votto with a run-scoring single in the opening inning, his 21st RBI of the year. He has Peraza out there at second with nobody out. Strike one. Reds left the bases loaded in the opening inning. They got the run-scoring single by Votto. But then they had 2 on with only 1 out. Maeda got Suarez to strike out, walked Schebler to load him up, but got Barnard on a fly ball to Puig in right. Retired the side in order in the second inning. And Votto will advance a runner on to third. So a productive out for Votto. Peraza 90 feet away with 1 away. Joey looks very frustrated with himself walking back into that dugout, but if you're going to make an out, at least make something good from it.
That's a team out.
Yeah. Tell you one thing, though, that does surprise me there. There wasn't one player on his team that walked up to him to shake his hand coming back to the dugout. That's the strangest thing I think I've ever seen in a dugout. Not one person on the team came over to tell him good job. So you're with me on this one.
I saw the same thing, and I was wondering the same thing because that's every bit as good as a sacrifice bunt. If a guy goes up and lays down a bunt, he's going to have everybody in the dugout give him a high five.
Now, we don't know if Votto was walking back and might have been screaming at himself and everybody thought he was upset and maybe better to leave him alone. Who knows? But normally when you see a player advance a runner like that, they will be met in the dugout with a lot of high fives. But it does look like Votto is upset. We made that comment right after he went past the first base bag.
Some guys need to cool off a little bit before you talk to them.
So the Dodger infield comes in. Reds with a 1-0 lead. Scooter Gennett had a single his first time up. 2-2.
One thing about Maeda, you know, and we have that box tracks and the box up there all the time. It really helps you appreciate how some pitchers are right on the periphery of the strike zone.
Looped into left field. This will fall in a hit. And Scooter Gennett has delivered yet again. He knocked in 3 runs last night. And now a base hit into left center field. His second hit already tonight to make it 2-0 Redlegs.
Things are falling your way when you pop one up like that, and it just finds a little green space between the infield and the outfield. I mean, he's hitting his share of balls that are right on the button too. But when those start falling in for you, you're about to have a pretty good game, and maybe you can get that going into a good week or more. 12 times he's had a multi-hit game this season.
So Gennett now with 22 runs batted in. That's second most on the team to Suarez, and now 1 better than Votto, who had tied Gennett with that single to knock in a run in the opening inning. Two and one on Suarez. Maeda was able to get both Peraza and Suarez on breaking balls well out of the strike zone, down and away from them in the opening inning. But Peraza doubles off Maeda to begin this third, comes around to score. There goes Gennett, and the ball's dropped by Grandal. Or was it fouled off? It's a foul ball.
He had that base stolen, and Maeda just wasn't paying attention to him.
Two and two on Suarez, and that'll drop into left center field, a base hit. Excellent read by Gennett, had it right in front of him and easily goes first to third. Third hit of this inning for the Reds through the first 4 to come to the plate.
Excellent base running by Scooter Gennett, yes, but excellent execution of knowing what's coming and then going out to get it. And look how much of the bat that he had left. I mean, he got that ball on the barrel. That's a pitch he struck out on the first time up, so he kind of went to school on his first AB. And meanwhile, Gennett just good fundamental baseball there. When the outfielder is running side to side, that's when you take the extra base.
Right now, Schebler, he drew a walk his first time up. Runners at first and third. Reds have scored single runs in the first and this third inning. Already 6 base hits, and all 6 have come really in an inning and a third, because he set down the side in order in the second. Scooter Gennett, the runner at third base. And Suarez across the diamond at first. 1 out in the inning, nothing in 2 on Schebler. And once again, Maeda backs off the rubber. Struck him out swinging on a breaking ball down and in, and that's 4 of those tonight for Maeda. Well, when the Reds come off this road trip, the Chicago Cubs come to town, and you can be there for as low as $10. Don't miss. We'll have a fireworks Friday night, Super Saturday day-night doubleheader, and then, of course, family days on Sundays. For tickets, log on to Reds.com. Big strikeout there from Maeda. And once more, Tucker Barnhart will come to the plate with runners aboard. He made the final out in the opening inning with the bases loaded, and now has runners at third and first with 2 away here in the third.
Just doesn't seem like Barnhart is getting the pitches that he's looking for. Maeda, the first time up, got ahead of him with a curveball on a changeup, and here he starts this at bat off with a changeup. Barnhart's still looking fastball. The one he did get, he hit very well, but it flew out and kind of ran out of gas in right field to end the inning.
Hooked into right field, a big 2-out base hit by Barnhart. That was a story the night last night for the Reds. 2-out hitting. And a 2-out run scoring single by Barnhart puts the Reds now in front by 3.
Well, they got a fastball that time, and he was ready for it. In fact, it may have even been a little bit out of the strike zone. Well, that's a good short swing.
Barnhart started to pick it up after a slight lull over the last week or so. His 11th run batted in, and Harvey will bat already for the 2nd time, and we're only in the 3rd inning. You brought up earlier, if you're a pitcher you like hitting in the first, certainly the second. How about hitting twice in the first 3? Harvey had a hot smash, 1-hopper right back to the mound his first time up. In the air, straight away center field. It'll back up Peterson. A 2-run third. Harvey will go to the mound in the bottom of the inning with a 2, now 3-0 lead.
where my career was. But you know, I think fighting through that and throwing the ball the way I have been, you know, in bullpens and in between outings, it's in there. So it just needs to come out, and I need to, you know, relax and let it happen.
That was an interview some of you may have seen during Reds Live. Jim Day conducting that interview with Matt Harvey before the game yesterday. And Harvey has a 3-0 lead in this his Reds debut here tonight. Dodgers come to bat last of the third in Los Angeles. Another big crowd on hand tonight. They had better than 47,000 for the season opener. I should say the series opener, which was last night. And 2 more to go. Tomorrow night we'll start an hour earlier than we did the last 2 nights. And then a late afternoon tilt on Sunday. You know, it should be noted that here Harvey is making his Reds debut tonight. Earlier this evening, back in the Eastern time zone, the New York Mets beat the Philadelphia Phillies by a count of 3-1. Not that that's necessarily a big deal. What is a big deal is that Devin Mesoraco hit a home run for the Mets. Had a 9th inning solo blast in that New York 2-run win. Good for Devin. I know everybody back here in Cincinnati will continue to root for him.
Good young man.
And both Mesoraco and Harvey certainly have their futures right in front of them. Because, you know, sometimes you go into a new situation and you really don't know what kind of opportunity you're going to get with that particular team. The Reds made the decision they were going to send Brandon Finnegan back to the minor leagues, and they were going to put Harvey in the rotation here tonight. If all goes well, that means he would start the final game of this road trip. That's his first out here in the 3rd inning, his 2nd strikeout on the night. So he would pitch in another pitcher-friendly ballpark. We were talking about it last night.
Well, I mean, it really doesn't matter so far on the night. He hasn't given up a ball that looked like it would be a home run or any damaging ball at Great American Ballpark. I do like the depth on that slider. I mean, that baby went straight down.
That was his best pitch of the game.
I think so. You know, I don't know what the long-term plans are for Doug Harvey from the Reds' perspective. Free agent at the end of this year, right? Or Matt Harvey. But the short term is get him right. Get him back to throwing the ball as absolutely as well as you possibly can. And then that opens up some options for you. You know, you could put him out there and see if there's any interest in a trade, maybe at the trade deadline, if he's really throwing the ball well, and you've had some conversations with him and he's like, you know what, I'm not really interested in a long-term deal with the Reds right now. I want to take a look at what free agency is all about.
Sure.
And with Scott Boras right here in the stands at Los Angeles to watch him pitch this ball game, he's a guy that is never afraid to advise his clients to go to take a look at what the market may bear. I mean, it really could be a win-win for the Reds all the way around. I mean, you get a young pitcher who's at one time one of the best pitchers in baseball back on top of the beam, which is always good for baseball, period. It helps your ball club because maybe you can flip him for somebody good, or maybe he likes it here in Cincinnati and wants to sign a long-term deal. I mean, he's got a chance really to kind of write his own destiny right now.
3-2 pitch. Short left center field. And again, just another harmless pop fly. That's basically all we've seen from the Dodgers one full time now through the batting order, that being the pitcher, albeit.
Number 26.
The Memorial Tournament presented by Nationwide, coming to beautiful Muirfield Village Golf Club in Dublin, Ohio. They get a 4-day weekend, May the 31st to June the 3rd. Order your badges at memorialbadges.com. What an incredible venue that is. Of course, the The tournament that Jack Nicklaus built. The great Ohio State Buckeye, Jack Nicklaus.
You played that golf course recently.
Yeah, right.
You?
But that was about a year ago.
Urban Meyer and company went out there and strolled the grounds of Muirfield.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spot.
Strolled would not be the right word. I broke my foot on about the third or fourth hole. That wasn't a pleasant stroll through anything.
I thought golf was a non-contact sport. Did Urban tackle you and break your foot?
No, the hockey guy did. He whacked me over the leg after I said something about his drive. Two and 0 on Chase Utley, so we begin the second time through the batting order now for Matt Harvey. What an odd weather day it was here today in Southern California. That old song about it never rains in California. Very, very early this morning. You were up, I was up. You were going out on a hike. I was going outside to get a little run in, and raining in the morning and cloudy all day long.
I don't know if you really could call it rain.
Yeah, you're right. Kind of a
I think it was
mist.
more of a suspended humidity. You know, kind of hanging in the air.
Yep. 2-1
good
pitch.
inning.
Yes, it is. Another 1-2-3 inning, the second in as many innings. He should have 3 in a row. So far, so good for Matt Harvey.
All right, Dodger fans, it's time to play name.
Pittsburgh, PA.
Batting second, right fielder, number 22, Andrew McCutchen.
Andrew McCutchen's first return to Pittsburgh, a longtime Pirate, and you can see a lengthy standing ovation for him, and emotion on his face as Kutch, as they called him, returned to PNC Park. So a special moment tonight. Pirates, though, blast the Giants.
And of course, we'll see the Giants beginning on Monday night. They're just trying to survive. We were talking with their outstanding advanced scout who's been in the game in a long time, Keith Champion, before the game, and you know the top 2 starters in that rotation, Madison Bumgarner and now Johnny Cueto more recently. They're not quite sure what Cueto's future might be. They put him on the 60-day disabled list, but if they could find a way to get both those guys back, if they could just hang around, and they're hanging around. They're 19-19 on the year. Swing and a miss by Hamilton, and that is strike 3. Jackson Stevens begins to warm up in the Cincinnati bullpen, and apparently our camera's catching some high fives and shaking hands down in the dugout. Jim Riggleman it looks like, telling Matt Harvey that's going to be it. We'll see. I
think he knew ahead of time it was going to be an abbreviated outing. I talked to Jim Riggleman before the game, specifically asked him that. He said, hey, 4 at the very most, and I just threw out the number 4, and he goes, it's going to be probably less than that. So he had already penciled in guys that he figured he was going to go to, kind of a bullpen game. Jackson Stevens the first out of the chute. Good job by Harvey. I'll tell you what, Stevens goes out there, throws a couple of shutout innings. Could be a nice vulture win for him.
That one tied up Winker. That's how he got him out the last time. He came hard in, and Winker popped the ball up to the second baseman. Jesse a double and scored a run his first time.
If you look at the career numbers, the splits for Kenta Maeda, you can see the left-handers have really hit him much, much better than right-handers. He is awfully tough against right-handers because of that slider and the cutter. Lefties are about 60 points higher in the on-base percentage. They've also got an edge on home runs per at bat and so on. That's like that a lot with right-handed pitching, but I think it really stands out for Maeda. So he's still trying to figure out how to get a lineup of left-handers out, and the Reds can throw them at you.
They struck Jose Peraza out his first time up. Then Peraza led off the third inning with a double down the left field line and scored the first of 2 in that Reds third inning, and it's a 3-0 lead. Reds have outscored him 3-zip, out hit him 7-1. So if indeed Harvey's night is over, and it looks like it is, we'll know for sure here shortly. But 3 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball, and the hit really should have never occurred. He should have been 9 up and 9 down in this game. It was a pop fly into right center field that Scott Sabler simply lost the ball. It's going to happen once every blue moon, and the ball fell in and naturally was scored a base hit.
You know, the connection, and you've talked about it a little bit, where Matt Harvey had played as an amateur between his high school years and the time that he was going to University of North Carolina. He was a high round draft pick. There was some speculation that he was going to sign. In fact, I think he was drafted by the the Los Angeles Dodgers, if I'm not mistaken.
3rd round.
But he was playing for the Midland Redskins and living with the coach, Brian Hyler, along with Eric Hosmer and Eli Marrera. Devin Marrera.
We'll get back to that story here in a minute. Reds gone in order and lead 3-0. Comic strip and cartoon. This special ticket package includes an exclusive Snoopy bobblehead. Purchase today at Reds.com/themes. The Snoopy bobblehead is only available with the purchase of this ticket package. Well, we saw a lot of handshakes in the dugout which generally leads one to believe that a pitcher's outing is over. Jim Riggleman has decided to run Matt Harvey out there to begin this fourth.
Well, maybe he told his manager, hey, I'm the Dark Knight. I'll let you know when I'm coming out of the ball game. I say that in jest, of course.
Of course.
I'm glad he's back out there. I mean, he really hasn't pushed the pitch count at all.
Well, there has not been a single hard hit ball against Harvey through the first 3 innings of this game. I mean, nothing. Pop up to left, pop up to right, ground ball to first.
He just looks comfortable out there. I mean, he doesn't have the smoothest delivery in the world. He never did. He was more of a power guy, you know, and he still does that, but he just looks comfortable. Riggleman had called him down the steps of the dugout, and afterwards, and maybe they were giving him high fives and knuckles because he had talked Riggleman into one more inning.
Now that's a sharp one hopper, but right at Gennett, and that's out number 1. Remember, when Harvey began the season, he was in the Mets starting rotation, and he had a really good first game of the year. Pitched against Philadelphia, got the win. The team got the win. He did not get the win. He went 5 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. Then he had a couple of starts like we've seen a lot of Red starters have this year, especially these young guys, where you go 5, get a high pitch count, you give up 3 or 4. He had 2 of those where he gave up 4. And then he had his 4th start of the year in Atlanta. Went 6 innings, allowed 6 earned runs. At that point in time, they made the decision he would go to the bullpen. He pitched in 4 games out of the bullpen, the last one being on May the 3rd. The Mets wanted him to go back to the minor leagues to try and, start getting his act together to have a return eventually to the starting rotation. He said no, wasn't going to do it. So they designated him for assignment. At that point in time, a certain amount of time will go by and you'll field offers for a trade. The Reds offered them Devin Mesoraco, and both sides says okay, here we are. Everybody seemingly around baseball has weighed in as to whether or not this is a good thing for Harvey, a bad thing for Harvey. I know one thing. I wish I had $5 for every time a lot of the national experts, especially the national writers, as we remind you coming up later, give you our whole true moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. Look, nobody has a crystal ball. And to come out and say, in really rather scathing tones,
yeah, I agree,
that this is a terrible thing for Matt Harvey. Going to Cincinnati's awful for him. The ballpark's terrible. Everybody knows it's a hitter-friendly park. You're not telling anybody anything they don't know. But that doesn't mean that Matt Harvey, and I'm not defending Matt Harvey. I don't know Matt Harvey. I know he's had his ups and downs in New York, on the field and off the field. But for people to speculate about whether or not this is a good thing for him, it's a good thing for him no matter where he went. He's trying to rebuild his career. He's trying to find out if he's ever going to be the pitcher that everybody hoped he would, and that at times he once was. So I just don't know where some of these guys go off and trying to say that wherever he went was a good thing or a bad thing. You agree?
I agree 100%. And I agree that the most important thing is him getting a chance to pitch somewhere. And this may turn out to be just a sensational deal for the Reds. It could be a mediocre deal, and but I don't see it ever being a bad deal.
And I just don't understand how you say, take the Reds out of it entirely. For somebody to say that it's bad for Matt Harvey. Now look, you can say, hey, he made his own bed. He couldn't sleep in it. He wouldn't go back down the minor leagues. Wherever he ends up is where he ends up. But the bottom line is he's getting a chance to continue his career and see if he can't get back to a point of where he's a bona fide once every 5-day major league pitcher in a starting rotation.
Because he was so good previously, he was under a microscope much more than so many other pitchers that are trying to rebuild their career.
No doubt. But a lot of these guys that write this stuff and say this stuff, they ought to know better. They've been around long enough. I mean, it's not like some rookie falling out of bed. There's a fly ball to center. Harvey could be perfect through 4 right now. He allows 1 hit. Will we see him in the 5th? Changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. Well, again, much a similar type of reaction in the dugout for Harvey coming off the mound at the end of 4 as we saw at the end of 3. So this time we might wait on speculating as to whether or not that means his night is over or whether he's still in the game.
You know, I think a lot of it, Tom, is what Brian Harvey is saying to Jim Riggleman. I mean, Riggleman is a Matt Harvey.
You've covered all the Harveys. The umpire, Doug Harvey, and the reliever, Brian Harvey. You got them all covered.
All right.
Harvey Keene, and you're all right. Steve Harvey. Paul Harvey.
But I don't think Riggleman is ever a guy that say that he knows everything and that he's going to make the choice no matter what. He's going to get some input, especially from a guy that he doesn't know very well. How do you feel? How does your arm feel? I mean, I don't think there was any strict pitch limit. There wasn't any strict anything. The hitters were going to determine whether he was even going to go 4 innings. But I think that Riggleman thought the 4 would be a great outing if he could get that far.
Well, there is no question this was a great outing for Matt Harvey. Whether or not it goes any further remains to be seen. I mean, is his stuff back to where it was in the past? Of course not. He's trying to get back there, but the bottom line is he should have been perfect through 4 innings tonight. Doesn't walk a batter, and the only Dodger hit was a fly ball that was lost in the lights by Scott Schebler and fell in and turned out to be a triple, and even then that occurred with 1 out, and Harvey was able to strike out the next batter and then get a fly ball to end the inning. Joey Votto leads things off here in the Reds' 5th. In the air down the left field line and out of play. That is ball 4 to Votto. He draws a leadoff walk. So the problems with left-handed batters continue for Maeda. Second time Votto has been aboard, and that's the second walk issued in the game by the Dodger right-hander. Scooter Gennett a single his first time up, and then knocked in a run with a single his last time up. So a perfect 2 for 2 for Scooter Gennett.
You know, they keep peppering the outside of the strike zone here against Scooter Gennett, and he began to show in spring training the ability to rifle that ball into left field, down the left field line especially. And the more he sees out there, the more you would think he'd become accustomed to be able to wait back on it and kind of take it the other way. There's a lot of space on the left side of this infield.
That's down the right field line, and Gennett has done it again. He had a home run here last night, 3 hits, knocked in 3. Through the first 5 innings, he has 3 hits tonight and has knocked in 3.
Why take a slicing
4
base hit
games
to
in a
left
row
field when you can hit a home run to right?
Third baseman Suarez.
It's amazing how this team has been the last week. I mean, Suarez single-handedly carried the team for about 5 or 6 days, it seemed. And now Gennett, now that his right shoulder has come around and feels a lot better, gets a breaking ball right there, and just about the 3rd or 4th row. You can pick up a cheap one here, and that was one of them. And he'll take it all day long. A 5-0 game.
So for Scooter, he's now homered in 4 consecutive games. He did not start the final game of the Mets series in that 2-1 victory, but a home run in each of his last 4 starts. You talk about a whole pile of first since becoming a Cincinnati Red. That is a story for Scooter Gennett. Popped up short center, Peterson able to get there, and that'll be the first out here in the Cincinnati 5th inning as Suarez pops up.
Right fielder Scott
Talked
Schebler.
about it so many times. No one saw what was coming and what we saw last year from Scooter Gennett. He was a guy roughly averaging 12 home runs, 14 home runs a year. That was his career high the year before he came to the Reds. He had 14 and a career best 56 RBIs. Then he goes 27 and 97 last year.
I mean, you have to get lucky sometimes.
Sure.
With deals, though. I mean, whether it's a waiver wire deal or whether it's a trade, you know, for a player that you may not know a whole lot about, maybe a prospect, a fringe guy thrown in at the very end of a deal. You know, those are the kind of trades that or deals that you make that can just kind of put your organization, you know, one step closer. And, you know, Gennett has been that guy. I mean, he was picked up to be an extra player to play behind Jose Peraza. And now they're both found their way in the lineup, and they're both doing real well this year.
Diving play made down at 3rd, and the throw is in time. What a play that was. And that's a shortstop, Taylor, as a lone man on the left side of the infield.
Kind of ironic. I was watching the Dodgers during batting practice hit their infielders ground balls, and Taylor was actually practicing plays like this, believe it or not, going one way or the other, diving, jumping up, and throwing it to first base. It's a nice play.
Good breaking ball there. Strike one to Tucker Barnhart, who has knocked in a run tonight with a 2-out single in the third inning. Reds lead 5-0. Run in the first, 2 in the third, and the 2-run home run by Gennett here in the fifth.
And look who's in the on-deck circle.
Although Stevens does continue to throw down there, at least he was up earlier in the Reds bullpen. With a 5-0 lead. Maybe they'll let Harvey bat and take him out of the game. Maybe they let him bat and he stays in the game.
I mean, it's not like he's had any high stressful innings.
No stress outside of really the 2 batters after the ball that was scored at triple. That ball smoked down the line by Barnhart. And he's on his way to second base and will go in there with a double. So that's all for Matt Harvey. He is called back into the Reds dugout. He goes 4 innings in his Reds debut, allows 1 base runner, 1 hit. Does not walk a batter, strikes out 2. And it should have been 12 up and 12 down for Harvey. He's got to feel good about that outing. Really good. And that's all for Maeda. He can't feel so good about his. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Reds lead 5-0, batting in the fifth. Nothing lead. Get on your phone. Scroll over to Fox Sports Ohio on Instagram to relive great moments and get insights from the players. Follow Fox Sports OH on Instagram. Dodgers go to their bullpen. Adam Libator on to face the pinch hitter Rosell Herrera. Libator on a pretty good roll right now. Scoreless relief in 9 of his last 10 appearances. And hitters only batting 192 against him during that stretch. They brought him back up in the middle of April and made his first appearance since May of last year. They've had all kinds of injuries in that Dodger bullpen. We chronicled a number of those last night. Most recently, the former Red Tony Cingrani. Comebacker to the mound, and that will be the final out in the inning. But more damage done by the Redlegs and more damage done by Scooter. He's knocked in 3 in back-to-back games. This 2-run home run makes it 5-0 Cincinnati.
We're talking about Ted Power's son. Ted Power, the former Reds pitcher, now bullpen coach. His son Chandler spent 6 years in Special Ops, the 160th Army Airborne. The unit was nicknamed the Night Stalkers. And Chandler was originally entered the service as a helicopter mechanic, but was quickly recruited into the Special Ops. The last 2 years of his service, he ran missions as a first sergeant flight engineer. And nowadays, Chandler up in Columbus at The Ohio State University. His first year there in the engineering department. He's to go into aeronautical engineering. So we will salute you, Chandler, son of Ted Power.
Very, very nice. The Night Stalkers, they were founded in 1981, 37 years ago. And their motto, Night Stalkers don't quit. Death waits in the dark. 6 guns don't miss. Jackson Stevens takes over for Matt Harvey. 55 pitches, 32 of which were strikes. Went to a 3-ball count 4 times, 3 full counts in the game. So Harvey, 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball, and if you weren't with us, the only base runner to reach against Harvey in his 4 innings tonight was a routine fly ball that looked like Scott Shebler was camped underneath in very short right center field, and the ball just dropped about 15 feet away from him. Must have lost it in the lights, and it was scored a triple by the man who stands at the plate right now, Cody Bellinger. To the count, and Stevens going to work with a 5-0 lead. Fouled out of play. Now, overall, the stuff-wise tonight, you know, we've heard so much about Harvey and, you know, not quite the life on the fastball, maybe not the tilt on the slider, but from days past. But what were your impressions?
I mean, obviously, the results stand for themselves. So I thought he was around the strike zone, the periphery of the strike zone. He can pitch inside to left-handers, which is always a plus when you're a right-handed pitcher. I mean, you have to do that. And he, to me, what I like the most is that he looked comfortable out there. He wasn't battling his delivery. He wasn't battling Tucker Barnhart for trying to get to the right pitch. And I mean, I'll tell you, you know, these Dodgers, this ball club has been very inconsistent, but this is a team that is in need of a win in the worst way, especially after a very frustrating night last night against the Reds. And they probably thought, you know, they're licking their chops when the Reds come into town, based on what the Reds have done here in Dodger Stadium over the last 3 or 4 years.
Number 43, Chris Taylor.
Stevens coming right after Bellinger here.
And that's where you go after him. It's up the ladder right there. He had some really good swings and pitches that were down around the knees. If you can elevate a little bit, chances are he's going to swing through it. And that's just an adjustment that Bellinger is going to have to make eventually. You know, figure out a change of approach with 2 strikes.
Well, Matt Harvey's agent, who certainly has drawn headlines from coast to coast for years, and years, and you know, there's some that like him and there are a lot that don't. He's here in the front row every night. There you got to look at Scott Boras, without a doubt the single most influential agent in the history of Major League Baseball. Marvin Miller, of course, you know, was a union leader for years and years and years, and I believe he just recently was inducted into the Hall of Fame within the last year or two. Didn't he get in eventually, Marvin Miller? Of course, he's no longer alive. There's a drive to straightaway center field. Hamilton can't get it, and on his way to third is Taylor, and he's in with a stand-up triple.
Boy, he hit this ball very hard. Taylor did. He takes a big swing for a middle infielder. I'll tell you that. He nearly fell down on the first swing and miss he had. But this one, he centers up on the sweet part of the bat. Look at the hustle by Shevler to come all the way over to center field and get this ball off the rebound coming off the wall. Here's Shevler coming in from the right side of your picture there.
So now Max Muncy with a runner at third and 1 out. Not only bring up Marvin Miller because he would be the closest thing to the ultimate player ally as Boras would be for players he represents. He's a very passionate guy and a lot of very strong opinions. Has rubbed many the wrong way.
Well, the one thing that Scott Boras has always been known for is pushing the envelope a little bit every chance he gets. So if he has a player that is going to be on the verge of being a free agent, and that player's thinking, hey, maybe I should just go for this guaranteed extension right now, because you never know what's going to happen. Boras has a way of getting that guy into free agency.
Ball is hammered into deep left field, and it's up against the wall. So a triple and now a double, and for the first time all night, the Dodgers are on the board. It's a 5-1 game.
Max Muncy hits this ball very hard and a long, long way to left field. Opposite field on a night like tonight, that's some kind of strength to do that. momentum changing break right here. Danny Darwin's, one of his real qualities is being able to simplify things. That's Austin Bryce trying to rush it and get it going right now in the bullpen. But he has the ability, you know, he's kind of he's a Texas guy. You know, he's got that kind of a southern way to boil things down to the very basics. And oftentimes he'll give you one thing to think about, go out there and he'll tell you what to do and just try to give you a little bit of confidence, but at the same time, don't overcomplicate the situation. The pitcher knows what the situation is. Give him something to plan on right here.
Well, we're only in the bottom of the 5th inning. We have a long way to go. And it's a 5-1 ball game. Reds in front.
Yeah, 5-0 seemed like a blowout the way that Harvey was retiring the Dodgers. But they seem to be seeing the ball a little better here in this inning.
Yasiel Puig fouls it away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ugly swing there by Puig. He just came off the disabled list the day before the Reds got here. He had a 3-hit game to get his batting average over 200. Puig struck out his first time up tonight against Harvey. And now the 1-2 coming from Stevens with a runner at second and 1 out in the inning. Doesn't chase a breaking ball.
Yeah, that's the bread and butter pitch for Jackson Stevens. I mean, he's throwing the ball pretty hard tonight. I think he's throwing it as hard as 95 or 96, which is at the top end of what I've seen out of Jackson Stevens. But that go-to pitch is his overhand breaking ball. When he's got that thing working, that's a weapon.
Bryce is ready to go down in that bullpen. Jim Riggleman's not going to let this game get away from him with Stevens on the mound in the 5th. Quick throw down there, and it's about the 14th time we've seen a team try that this year, and about 0 for 14. But every now and again you'll see it.
Hey, doesn't cost anything.
No. Balls and 2 strikes on Yasiel Puig. You got to wonder, would this be the last batter Stevens faces? No, it will not be, as he's going to get Puig to pop up to Suarez at third, 2 out. Well, we were talking about this Reds bullpen before the game started. The numbers are really, really impressive what this entire group has done here recently. Over the last 2 weeks, a 2.7 earned run average, which has dropped the bullpen's ERA nearly a full run per 9 innings. And we showed you the last 3 games spanning 12 innings. Tonight's the first run they've given up. And over the last 4 games, it's only the 2nd run they've given up, spanning 17 innings. So they have been really good. Well, they went through the early part of the year where two of the guys they were counting on down there did not throw a single pitch in Michael Lorenzen. They'd like to have him back sometime soon. He's going to go to Pensacola and start working at the AA level along with Anthony DeSclafani next week. That was a big story before the game today. Well, the other guy was David Hernandez. I mean, what a lift he's given this staff since coming back. He's thrown the ball very well. But the two unsung heroes in that bullpen by far and away thus far this season have been Floro and Austin Bryce. There's strike three called on Austin Barnes. Dodgers get a run. We played 5, and the Reds lead by 4.
Davey Concepcion collects career hit number 2,000, 5th inning single against the Astros. Concepcion ended up with 2,326 hits, all with the Reds, spanning a 19-year career.
It's hard to believe that guy is not in baseball's Hall of Fame. Really hard to believe. You know, this is also a date in baseball history as the Dodgers are going to go to their bullpen. My old buddy Wildman Walker, you know, WEBN fame all those years, of course, who is the biggest Pete Rose fan in the world, as Scott Alexander is on the mound. It was on this date where Pete Rose in one game stole second, third, and home. It had not been done since Jackie Robinson did it. Trying to bunt his way on is Billy Hamilton. So I think Wildman's probably still up watching the Redlegs tonight.
Kind of miss Wildman around the
no doubt
press
about
box every once in a while.
No question about it. He brought a little bit of life.
What a character
To that place. Ball and 1 strike, the count on Hamilton, and Alexander will field the comebacker and throw Billy out, 1 away.
Left fielder, number 33, Jesse Winker.
That'll bring Jesse Winker to the plate. Winker a double to start off the game. Off the top of that short wall down the right field line, wound up with a double. And scored on a single by Votto to get the Reds off and running tonight. He's been retired each of his next 2 times up. Pop up to second base and a ground ball to short. Alexander started the season on the Dodgers opening day roster. Was sent down. Only appeared in 4 games down at AAA, and they brought him right back up a few days later. So he's been here since the end of April. All right, let's see what else is going on around baseball. Let's send it back to Cincinnati and Brian Giesenslaw. Brian? Well, now that's having a day when it's your bobblehead. Wow. Grand slam in the first inning.
Wow. You're right.
Brian, thank you very much. Reds are batting here in the 6th inning. Jose Peraza, the batter, after the walk to Jesse Winker, 1 out in the inning. And Alexander throws to first base.
Alexander was actually a Reds draftee out of high school. Came out of Cardinal Newman High School in Santa Rosa, California. He didn't sign. He ended up signing later on when he went to Sonoma State University, presumably a wine major. And that was by the Kansas City Royals. They have a big rivalry across the way there at Napa U.
Would be a good tailgate.
Well, it's after midnight back home. We can talk about that.
Talk about tailgate anytime. Doesn't matter where you are. If Napa U is playing Sonoma State, that's a big league tailgate. That'd be your kind of tailgate, not necessarily my kind of tailgate, but that's definitely your crowd kind of tailgate.
A little bit of a quirky kind of tailgate for me.
I tell you what, this is a shadow of a team that won the National League Championship Series a year ago. Now, in fairness, they had a similar start to the way they're having now 4 years ago, and they wound up going all the way to the National League Championship Series. Very similar record to where they stand right now, so time will tell. The 2 infielders collide, and they still manage to get an out at second base, but that's all they'll get. And they're 2 away in the inning.
Well, I think they've changed their philosophy a little bit out here, Tom. They used to just want to outspend everybody. Here, the shortstop gets to the bag first, but he doesn't have the ball. So the second baseman behind him, I think that is Utley, that finally gets to the bag in front of the runner, Jesse Winker. But you know, now what they've done is they've got about 4 players that play every day in their lineup, and then all the others are matchup players. And in talking to Dave Roberts, it was interesting to say, you know, his biggest challenge is trying to get everybody on that roster to buy into that philosophy. That you may be batting second one night, and because there's a left-hander pitching the next night, you may be moved down to number 5 spot. And you know, you may say, well, look at all these, you know, 3A and 4A players they have up here. I mean, they've got a AAA that is chock full of veteran, former major leaguers, guys that have been up and down a little bit. And they do that because they can pay them a lot of money and keep them around because they know that they're going to get a veteran backup player when they get them up here. And they play the percentages, they play the odds as far as matchups go as much as they can. And we'll see if it works. Of course, you've got to keep your horses healthy. And when you lose Clayton Kershaw, not a whole lot worse than happened.
Jesse Winker
That's
was
Peraza.
cut down a moment ago. Peraza trades out with him, and he's the one who steals a bag at second, his 6th of the year in as many attempts.
I'd love to see Peraza run just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just push that envelope. Show himself to be just a little bit, I don't want to say reckless, but aggressive out there. Because he's got the tools. That would really give the Reds a little bit different dimension if they had more than one legitimate base stealer on this ball club. The guys we were talking about that are on the disabled list right now. Justin Turner will be back on Tuesday. Corey Seager out for the season. He's their shortstop. Hyun-Jin Ryu done for the year. He pulled a muscle off his bone in the groin area. And Kershaw, there was some speculation when he first was injured that he would be back during this series against the Reds. That's not going to happen. I did watch him play catch a little bit yesterday in the outfield. So at least he's throwing.
And that whole Ryu thing is going to be interesting to watch too, because you know right now they're telling everybody there's a chance that he could come back. That is a very, very serious injury. There's a roller foul. They finally had Ryu back healthy this year, and they were very excited by the way he was throwing the ball. We saw him a couple of years ago when he first came up, and he looked like he might be one of the great young pitchers in the game. But the injury bug has grabbed a hold of him the last couple of years. You know, but those 4 guys don't tell the whole story. It's a big part of the story. But as we brought up last night, this bullpen has just been ravaged because the 2 primary weapons they had setting up Jansen down there were Morrow, the right-hander, and the left-hander Tony Watson. Well, they let both of them leave. And so the guys they had to replace him both went down. The guys that replaced them both went down. 3-2 on Votto. And the shortstop Taylor will throw on to first to end the inning. A scoreless inning for the Reds. Dodgers bat in the 6th, with the Reds in front 5-1. to 19th, a day-night doubleheader. And on Saturday, if you're one of the first 20,000 fans through the gates for that 7:10 game, you get a Reds Garden Gnome presented by Cons. For tickets, log on to Reds.com. Top of the order for the Dodgers here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Jackson Stevens beginning his 2nd inning of work behind Matt Harvey. And if you're just joining us, Matt Harvey making his Cincinnati Reds debut tonight. 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. Still hanging around to watch his teammates tonight. Harvey threw 55 pitches, 32 of which were strikes. And was in total command. I know for many of you that have been with us from the start, I beg your pardon ahead of time, but for those of you that were not with us, the only base runner against Harvey was a routine fly ball into right field that Scott Schebler just simply lost in the lights, and it was scored a base hit. The runner wound up at third. There was only 1 out in the inning. He struck out the next batter, Chris Taylor, and then got the third baseman Muncy on a fly ball to center to end the inning. On UCLA night here at Dodger Stadium, the one-time UCLA Bruin Utley shoots one into left field for a base hit.
Center fielder, Chuck Peterson.
Of course, 2 of the great stars for the Dodgers in their franchise history were UCLA Bruins. Everybody knows about the great Jackie Robinson, multi-sport star at UCLA. And the other would be Eric Karros, the Los Angeles Dodgers all-time home run leader. Not Dodger franchise, but since they moved to LA. It's going to be it for Stevens. Jim Riggleman making the change. I'll tell you about the new Reds pitcher in a minute.
The Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Just talking a moment ago about the great Jackie Robinson. There's a statue unveiled here, and boy, you talk about another great former University of Cincinnati Bearcat, Sandy Koufax. Boy, does he look great. Career so short, but so incredible that despite the shortness of it, he wound up in baseball's Hall of Fame. Very private man, has been his whole life, has completely stayed away from any spotlight whatsoever during his playing days and ever since he stepped away from the game. Class all the way. Meanwhile, Austin Bryce takes over on the mound for the Redlegs, and you take away one bad outing, and this guy has had one excellent season. I mean, that's the only reason there's anything to that ERA.
Yeah, that outing was really early in the year, too. It was his third outing overall back in the very beginning of April.
21 strikeouts against just 5 walks. We are only in the bottom of the 6th inning. And the Reds with a 5-1 lead. Leadoff man aboard Utley, and it's 0-2 on Peterson.
You know, the one thing the Dodgers can do is send up a couple of left-handers up there, a few left-handers in that lineup. And if you don't have some left-handers in your bullpen, it can be tough to work through this part of the lineup for a right-hander, especially a guy like Austin Bryce, a little bit of a lower arm angle. Lefties hit about 100 points higher off of him than do right-handers.
Ugly swing there. And Suarez will take the out at first base, 1 away.
Catcher, Yasmani Grandal.
You know, it's sort of funny. You watch Grandal come up there to the plate, and it makes you sort of harken back and think about the history and the evolution of the catcher's position for the Reds and where they were a number of years ago now. You know, the Reds had to make a decision at the time as to whether or not they wanted to go with Devin Mesoraco as their catcher of the future or Yasmani Grandal. And of course, Grandal wound up being the guy, along with Brad Boxberger, reliever, Yonder Alonso, another #1 pick, traded in the Matt Latos deal. So how interesting it is now, where Tucker Barnhart, back in those days, he was thought of among all those guys as by far the best defensive catcher. There was never any debate about that. Barnhart a couple of times, in fact, won the Gold Glove equivalent of the best minor league defensive catcher in all the minor leagues among all organizations. Everybody knew that he was a great defensive catcher. No one envisioned at that time inside the Reds organization that here 5 years later, Barnhart wins the Gold Glove, and he's the one who's the Reds' everyday catcher. Of course, you never thought all the injuries would occur to Devin Mesoraco, or Tucker never gets that chance.
And of course, it was a trade that sent Yasmani Grandal out here to the West Coast. First he went to the San Diego Padres and then came over here to the Dodgers. Perfect ricochet right there for Tucker Barnhart.
Tied him up, that's all. Strike 3, and Grandal knew it.
And again, Grandal is going to complain the same way that Jose Peraza did to Alan Porter, saying, hey, you know what, if you're going to ring me up on a check swing, why don't you at least ask for a second opinion? But he went, and so did Peraza, so Alan Porter is 2 for 2.
See, I thought Peraza had a pretty good argument. You thought he went around?
I thought he went around.
All right. Matt Kempo for 2, a fly ball to right and a fly ball to center.
So far, so good for Austin Bryce. I mean, you come out there, you're facing two tough left-handed hitters right in the middle of the order. And you really don't use that slider all that much against left-handers, although he did get the ground ball off Peterson on a slider. And you don't want to lose concentration here with a right-hander up.
I thought you brought up a great point earlier, looking at the the Reds bullpen and how they've been used here of late. There's a strike they were able to stay away from Amir Garrett last night, but knowing that Harvey was not going to go that deep into the game for you tonight, and really not knowing what to expect here recently from Homer Bailey. And he's the guy that's getting the ball tomorrow. He has just had an awful time over his last couple of starts. Swinging a foul ball out of play. It'll be Homer tomorrow, and then the series finale, Luis Castillo.
So if you're the manager, though, you just can't go into tomorrow without a plan at all.
Right.
And just fingers crossed that Homer gives you, 7 or 8 inning outing. So you're always planning ahead. I think that Riggleman would like to stay away from Amir Garrett if possible tonight, although we just saw Amir Garrett warming up in the bullpen. I do know Iglesias they're going to stay away from, and probably Peralta. You never know when you're going to be in the lead in these ball games. That's a good pitch, and strike 3.
Yes, it is. Well, I tell you what, this kid's really throwing the ball well. You'll see him another inning tonight, I would think.
Four innings, 1 hit. It could have been hitless. No runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. Reds knew he wasn't going to go deep, but not sure they were expecting 4 innings of nearly perfect baseball. And how about Scooter Gennett? Slicing a couple the other way, a home run. His 4th straight game with a home run. As the Reds bidding for their 4th straight victory behind the bat of Gennett. The arm of Harvey, the bullpen, so far, so good.
Saw Romano that big hug and picking Scooter up off the ground. Of course, Harvey, for the hardcore fan or even the semi-casual fan, they realize by going 4 innings he cannot get a win here tonight. You got to go 5 to do that. But 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball, and The Dodgers will make another pitching change. Brock Stewart, right-hander, takes over, replacing Alexander, who goes a scoreless inning. In between innings, Matt Kemp was thrown out of the game after arguing that called third strike, which ended the bottom of the 6th.
Here's the pitch again from Austin Bryce. They'll come back fastball right on the corner. Kemp didn't think so. Bryce gets the call. Second strikeout of the inning for Bryce. And this Dodger team, boy, they are frustrated. I'm not really sure what put what put Porter over the top. Alan Porter, the home plate umpire.
They retired Gennett for the first time tonight. Single, 2-run home run, and now an out. Well, sometimes all it takes is one or two of the magic words. I mean, you know, you give a guy a little bit of rope, and you could read Porter's lips when Dave Roberts came out. I tried, as if to say, and I'm speculating on this, I tried to give him a chance to walk away and say what he wanted to say, and obviously sooner or later he said something where Porter had heard enough.
Well, he was walking towards first base because he thought it was ball 4. So when he made that long loop around home plate, that's when he went over the edge. But I think the point really remains is that Dodgers thought, hey, we're going to get healthy on the Reds coming in here. And the Mets probably thought the same thing when they came to Cincinnati, that they were finally going to get off the skid that they were on and take a series. That didn't happen. And the Reds are in a commanding lead right now tonight to be able to take the first 2 games of this series.
Postseason hero of a year ago, Kike Hernandez takes over in left field.
It's like he's being attacked by bubblegum.
Yeah. Now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
Two up, 2 down in the Cincinnati 7th inning, and here's Schebler, 0 for 2, walked in the first inning. Stewart, another one of those guys who they just brought up today, in fact, from AAA Oklahoma City. He was a starter for their AAA team down there, and man, he was having a really good year. 2.4 ERA in his 4 starts, and struck out 20 and walked only 6. He's just in his 3rd year in their organization. Only pitched in 17 games all of last year, with 5 stints on the disabled list, but healthy again and throwing the ball well. Schebler gone swinging, and a very impressive inning for Stewart. Stand and stretch in LA. Reds lead 5-1. Enjoy the game from your private climate-controlled indoor space. You can step outside, watch the action from the patio. Plus, your game ticket includes a catered buffet and drinks. Book today at Reds.com/groups. Dodgers bat last to the 7th. Reds in front 5-1. Austin Bryce faced 3 batters, retired all 3, including a pair of strikeouts in the 6th. Coming on in relief of Jackson Stevens. Cody Bellinger to lead off the LA inning. One and 2 on Bellinger. Just blew him away with fastballs. That one in 93, high and tight. Well, we see that every at bat generally in this series from Bellinger.
It seems like deeper in the count, Bellinger gets, the bigger his swing gets. I mean, it's really hard for a guy with long arms and long legs, the way that Bellinger is built, to be able to shorten it up. It's going to take a lot of work to do so. But if he's going to survive at the major league level, once they find your weakness, they're going after you.
Ball and 1 strike on Taylor. Good breaking ball there by Bryce.
Boy, look at the movement on that pitch right there. I mean, that baby at 93 just falls right off the table. Chris Taylor looks back and says, I couldn't have hit it anyway. We'll take another look. I'm not so sure how many people saw this coming for Austin Bryce, given what he did in spring training. And sometimes what happens when you get into a competitive situation, like there's so many pitchers trying to make that roster coming out of camp, that you try to over impress. And for Bryce, that means just trying to throw too hard. And instead of your fingers working on top of the ball, driving it down, getting some sink, you know, you're just throwing as hard as you can, and the ball flattens out. You work on the side of the ball stays on the same plane. Pretty soon you're getting whacked all over the ballpark. But I mean, that ball, he is in some kind of a perfect little groove right now. I mean, it's as simple as playing catch for him, the way he's releasing that baseball.
We brought it up earlier. Bryce and Floro have been just two unbelievable surprises for this Reds bullpen so far this year. And this bullpen continues to get better and better. And they may have more help on the way coming very soon. And Michael Lorenzen, and going into the year, if he would have been healthy from the start, he would have been the primary right-handed setup man in front of Raisel Iglesias.
Now, you know, with the pitchers that are getting healthy, you know, the occupancy rate at that bullpen is higher than ever.
Into right field, this one will leave the yard. Never fails. It's like the kiss of death. You start talking about how good somebody is,
and he even does it on an 0-2 pitch right there. It looks like he got a breaking ball once he did and got out ahead of it. Just a hanger right over the center of the plate that just kind of spun. You can see the reaction that Austin Bryce has. Looks like they're going to make a double switch. I kind of feel that this is somewhat of an odd move right here, because as well as Bryce is throwing the baseball, you know, he made a mistake pitch to a left-handed hitter, and you've got a right-hander Puig coming up. And he has just manhandled right-handers so far in his last 2 innings. So we'll see what happens here after Pregame makes the change.
So he goes an inning and 2/3 as Bryce. Strikes out 4, allows a hit and a run. And a left-hander, Amir Garrett, is just now coming out of the bullpen. Duvall is in the game playing in left field. He will bat in the pitcher spot, which means he's due up second when the Reds bat in the 7th inning. Winker's out there dancing again in right field. We saw that act last night. Lowe's whole team together. Reds relief pitcher since April the 27th. Look at some of these numbers. Man, oh man, oh man. Amir Garrett, a sparkling 1.5. He has been outstanding since the first day of the season. And he comes in there to face Puig with 2 outs and nobody on. Reds lead 5-2. We're in the 7th inning. You know, it's very interesting. I don't know if you saw some of the comments about Jim Cott that he made today. As now here we go again. Some back and forth. And Dave Roberts would like to talk to the home plate umpire.
I think he wants to know in the double switch who is batting where. When they start comparing lineup sheets.
Well, he will be batting for Scott Schebler. And maybe he didn't get the official word from Jim Riggleman about where they're batting. Winker obviously stays in the number 1 spot. Schebler made the final out of the 7th inning. Now he's looking at somebody saying, what did you say to him? Uh-oh. I don't know if he was looking at, they might have taken the wrong guy out of the game.
I think that's probably exactly what happened here. Now we're going to have a committee meeting. All the umpires are coming in.
It's not so much about who should be in or who should not be in or where they should be, because this is as easy as the sun rising in the east. Schebler made the last out of the inning. Okay, so you're going to put Duvall in the pitcher spot. You're going to put Garrett in Schebler's spot, and Winker stays in his spot. Now, that's not the issue. The issue is, what were the umpires told?
They're calling in, I think, Jesse Winker out of right field. Somebody must have made.
They told the umpire the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's the only other way to explain it, because this is as cut and dry, double switch, players coming in to replace other players as you can get.
Well, Alex Blandino is going to head out and play right field.
All right, Jim Day, can you help us sort this out?
Well, I heard Jim Riggleman turn back to the dugout to his bench coach, Pat Kelly, and said, I wanted Winker out of the game. And
okay,
Schebler was already out of the game. Now Winker is pulled, so I imagine the Reds are going to lose 2 players on this.
Yeah, so it wasn't as simple as just taking a guy who made the last out and putting in the double switch. They wanted to improve their defense going deeper into the game, and getting Winker out and keeping Schebler in would be a step in that direction.
Well, but the other part of it is where the umpires thought you were putting the pitcher in. The umpires thought what we were just saying, that this is as cut and dry a double switch as you can get, right? But clearly there was miscommunication in that Reds dugout as to which player they wanted coming out of the game. They wanted Winker out, and now he is forced out. Blandino will come in, and we'll have to see what the Reds batting order at this point looks like, because there's a ground ball to Peraza, and his throw is in time. And that will be the final end of the inning. Well, Jim, see if you can take a peek over somebody's shoulder down there and see who's batting where. I know we're going to find out when we come back, but we don't have access to the lineup card. All righty, Pick. Thank you very much. Stewart on for his second inning of work. Reds lead 5-2. They bat here in the top of the 8th inning. And Jim Riggleman probably explaining to Blandino, I'm sure the first question he asked, because I got to be honest with you, I'm asking the same question. We know Duvall, and this is what we went back to originally. He went into the pitcher spot, which is the A spot, which means he's batting second in this inning. The question I have is, where is the pitcher batting? And I bet you that's what Blandino was asking. Am I in Winker's spot in the batting order, or am I in Schebler's spot in the batting order?
I think the whole move was to just bring a new pitcher in for an out and then improve your outfield defense.
The question was just answered. Garrett is in the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
And there's ball 4 to Tucker Barnhart.
Left fielder, 23 out of the ball.
And for Alex Blandino, this is only his second game ever as a professional playing the outfield. The other was 2015, and he's hunting around for an outfielder's glove, maybe borrowing Herrera's down there. Now Blandino's a sharp enough guy that I would think you might see him during batting practice out running around, starting to, pretend it's a real batter at the plate and working on playing the outfield, because you talk about enhancing your chances of staying with a big league club.
Well, especially more and more nowadays when there is an emphasis put on the super utility player.
Yep.
I mean, what better answer if you're a utility player? The manager comes to you in spring training and says, where can you play? And your answer is a one-word answer, anywhere. Okay, that answers that. Go play right field.
Well, I got to tell you one thing. I used a line and stole the line from my old friend and partner, the late great Joe Garagiola Sr. last night about brains are spilling all over the field. They are really spilling all over the field for Dave Roberts. 2 innings ago, he brought in Kike Hernandez to play left field. In this inning, he flip-flops his left fielder and his center fielder. Hernandez is now in center, and Peterson is now in left. Brains are spilling all over the field.
I think that's probably a computer printout spilling all over the field.
Well, there are a lot of brains in computers.
I think that Dave Roberts is about as forward-thinking a manager as you will find. I think he's an excellent man and a good manager. And it's a tough spot here in Los Angeles, but I think that there's a compromise being made, and maybe with everybody in the organization buying into the fact that there's going to be more and more analytics, and the Dodgers have been a team to use them as much as anybody. And I think that's a move like that just smells like that came from somewhere else other than Dave Roberts' brain. Because he was an outfielder. And he could probably tell you that it really is not that big a difference, but they must have figured out a way to say that there is a slight enough difference to why not flip-flop them here with the batters that are coming up.
I bet you're right.
And it may have been all about the at-bat with Duvall.
Well, ever since Andrew Friedman took over this job running the baseball operations of the Dodgers, he made a name for himself down in Tampa Bay. They had competitive teams seemingly year after year, got to a number of postseasons down there on a, shoestring budget. Now, they bring him out here with the idea that that's the direction they were going to go into sooner or later. But the next thing you know, he gets out here and they have a team payroll a couple years in a row of over $300 million. So, there's nothing, quote unquote, analytics driven or money ball driven by this franchise his first 4 years here. So maybe now he'll be put to the test. But what he does have on his resume now is 3 straight divisional championships and a trip to the World Series.
Sure.
It's like Theo Epstein. You know, I mean, you give all the guy the credit in the world. He won a World Series in Boston where they had not won one in seemingly 1,000 years. He wins one in Chicago where they haven't won one in seemingly 10,000 years. And yet, for an analytics-based driven theory of his, you know, sort of brand of baseball and building a team, Theo Epstein has never been the general manager or the president of a baseball operations where they didn't have one of the top payrolls on the planet. Knocked down by the pitcher, hit him on a line drive, and Hamilton thrown out. And I'm talking about teams for Theo that won those championships.
Pretty good recovery out there by Stewart. I mean, what happened to the days of just waving off the trainer and saying, I'm good, don't even bother coming out here? Now, if they ever invent a portable MRI machine, okay, take a trip out there. And I couldn't have hit him in a place that was more innocent and padded.
Well, some guys. Hot smash off the bat of Garrett. And he's thrown out to end the inning. So 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Toyota, for over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. MLB at Bat, your #1 Cincinnati Reds app. Download MLB at Bat today. Now, I want to make sure real quick that everybody understands what I was just talking about a minute ago in making reference to Theo Epstein. I don't want anybody to misunderstood. When I said that, you know, his teams that won World Series, I'm talking about those specific years in Boston and in Chicago where they had an enormous payroll. there is no denying the buildup of the organizations of those teams by Theo Epstein to get to a point where they could go out and spend a bunch of money for a free agent here, free agent there, to put them over the top.
Well, when you break the curse that they had, both
no
in
doubt
Boston
about it.
and
Incredible
Chicago,
job.
that puts you in a whole different category
No doubt about
of success.
All right, so
there are
Peraza
some
is going to go.
changes, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You know, they're a little more comfortable with Peraza, who's played the outfield. So they'll move him out there and bring Blandino. This is a certainly more than understandable move in a 3-run game. And right away, the ball will find Peraza. But remember, he played a lot of games out in center field last year and is more than capable of handling it. 1 out. In between innings, Jim Riggleman trying to explain to Winker and Shepler about exactly what happened. Tell you, Jim Riggleman's going to be really upset about what happened as Kyle Farmer steps up there to pinch hit. I mean, he is an excellent manager of a game. This guy's been doing his job for a long, long time in the minor leagues and in the major leagues. Is a stickler for every single detail and knowing exactly what should be going on with his team. And as you pointed out earlier, looking ahead. He's going to be really upset about it. I remember the other day when the Mets had the situation where they hit out of order, they tried to get Riggleman to make some kind of comment on it. He says, I'm not going anywhere near there. All of us are capable of making mistakes. And
well, he's had that same thing happen to him, the batting out of order, when he was a minor league manager. And, you know, you can see how it can easily happen where the umpires get one card and then you post the other one on the dugout wall because one of your coaches or you forgot to tell the players that you had flip-flopped a couple of guys in the lineup. You know where that also happens a lot is where you have a couple of guys in your lineup that have very similar names like Smith and Smythe and Robertson and Robinson. And you tell them, hey, today we're going to flip something around. We're going to put you at top. And they don't remember, and they go up there and they bat out of order. The manager gets blamed. Amir. He held on to it long enough.
Yeah. Or that held on to him long enough. He's all right. No trainer coming out to look at him. Oh, boy. The quickness to get those hands. Look at that. Wow.
Oh, well, you know what some of the chirpers in the dugout will be saying, you got to charge those.
Right, got to charge that ball. It just dawned on me seeing Sal Romano down there, of course, who grew up in Connecticut, as did Matt Harvey. And I wonder if anybody's asked Romano. I may have to go down there and ask him after the game tonight about whether he was a big Harvey fan growing up, because, you know, the Mets are the closest team. Jim, I guess you've already thought about that.
Well, last night I was wondering who Harvey would migrate to in the dugout. And as it turned out, he spent most of the night with Romano, who are both from Connecticut. And Sal tells me they're about 40 minutes away as far as their hometowns go. And indeed, a big Matt Harvey fan, Sal Romano. So those guys spent a lot of time talking last night.
I'm going to tell you what, you can't get anything past Jim Day. So I mean, here we are thinking about it a day late. Jim Day, a day ahead.
So we won't try anymore.
I tell you, I've been trying for the better part of 4 or 5 years, and I mean, Jim Day's on all of it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we haven't talked about at all, though, is what kind of influence Matt Harvey could be on some of the young pitchers. I mean, for a guy that has been through it in New York in the postseason, It's nice to have another veteran on this pitching staff that can disseminate a little experience and information.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, look, it's been well documented in the days when Harvey was there. He had dated, you know, through the years, 3 or 4 supermodels. And, you know, so a lot of these young Reds pitchers, they might turn to him for a little dating advice as well. The ball's popped up. Shortstop will go out and get it. And Amir Garrett, the beat goes on. I know one thing. When I was 24, I'd have been asking. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And the starters tomorrow, we're starting an hour earlier than we have these last couple of nights, so we invite you to be with us. Homer Bailey looking for win number 1. Ross Stripling just inserted into the starting rotation after the injuries to Kershaw and Ryu. So that is a 8:30 start for Reds Live tomorrow, and our game coverage begins at 9. Stewart out there for a 3rd inning. He's been mighty sharp through the last 2. Has not allowed a hit. Walked the batter, fanned 2. Reds in the 9th inning, 3 outs away from what would be their 4th straight win. Dodgers have made all kinds of changes on defense. We'll do the best to catch up with you. I mean, they're changing 3 and 4 players' positions and not taking guys out of the game. So we know Kike Hernandez is now playing
Joey Votto.
second base. Jock Peterson is now back in center field. He's gone from center to left to center in the last 2 innings. That's Muncy, who now plays left field after starting the game at third base. And Farmer stays in the game to play third. Joey Votto tonight is 1 of 3. Has been on base twice. He's knocked in a run and scored a run.
Number 3, Scooter Gennett.
Second walk given up by Stewart since he's come into the game. He will pitch the final 3 of this game, it appears. And here's Gennett, who's had another big night. He's homered now in 4 straight games. And in each of the first 2 games of this series, 3 hits last night, 3 batted in. 3 hits tonight, 3 batted in. And a 4-hit night now for Gennett as he just lofts one into shallow right field. Votto going to third. Good base running there by Votto, realizing that ball was not going to be caught. And it will be a single. And Gennett takes second base on the throw to third.
Right now, Scooter Gennett just kind of waving a magic wand up there. No matter where he hits it, it's going to find some pay dirt. Goes down there almost on one knee to slice this ball or hook it down the right field line. The throw by Puig is so high going into third base that really just a heads-up play by Gennett. He's watching Puig. He knows that the tendency that Puig has for trying to, do the impossible, which is throw out a runner who's already standing on the bag. And so he just scoots right in the back door to second base.
Ball's in the air to right. This will plate another run. Tagging and scoring is Votto. Gives Suarez a run batted in. Big tack on run there to make it 6-2 Reds.
Number 2, Alec.
In these last 4 days, this team has really played good baseball in just about every area imaginable. And you can say, well, yeah, their record is this, their record is that, but the bottom line is that for the last, really since Jim Riggleman took over, going into play tonight, 8-12 since the 19th of April. That's when Riggleman replaced Brian Price. So a win tonight. And over what, a 21-game stretch or 3 games under 500?
Well, I think
that's
lot
a
of
significant improvement.
Not only Riggleman too, Tom, but they also changed and brought Danny Darwin in as pitching coach. And I think just a simple message that he has given to this pitching staff has really helped.
Iglesias was up and throwing in preparation of a save attempt. But of course, now that it's gone to 4 runs, it's no longer a save attempt. So he is taking a seat. Now back on his feet and hanging around and talking to Wandy Peralta. Garrett's spot. He hit the last inning, so they may let him finish this game. I guess theoretically, you look at that bullpen for tomorrow. You got Floro, obviously, that can come back and gobble up some innings for you. David Hernandez has not pitched in the first 2 games of this series. Jared Hughes should be fresh with a night off tonight. Wandy a night off. Stevenson only pitched an inning. Dino bats for the first time. Bob Guerin standing alongside Dave Roberts there. Guerin, the former manager of the Oakland Athletics, and I would imagine he'll get another chance to manage somewhere again. Stewart was cruising right along until this 9th inning.
It just seems like he hit a wall here. He went after the walk to Votto. It just seems like he's laboring much more than he did. Sometimes you just push a guy just maybe a few pitches too many.
We mentioned earlier that Stewart was starting down in AAA.
He's not,
but you're right. I mean,
nowhere close to what he was.
No, you're right. Nowhere near.
Pitcher 16, Tucker Barnhart.
Should be the final out of the inning. So the Dodgers will bat in the bottom of the 9th. Reds get a tack-on run and lead by 4. Will be coming your way. But take a look at this. Last time the Reds had back-to-back wins at Dodger Stadium, you got to go back to 2011. Tonight, the big story, Chris, undoubtedly Matt Harvey.
Well, there was a lot of hype leading up to it. People thought it was going to be either very good or really bad or maybe somewhere in between. It turned out to be very good for Matt Harvey. Looked really comfortable on the mound. In fact, except for a ball that was basically lost at dusk in the air, he would have had a perfect outing. So Harvey threw the ball well. His velocity was up. His slider was over the top and straight down. That's a really great start.
Amir Garrett now trying to get the final 3 outs. He'll be facing Grandal to start the inning. Tim LoCastro stands in the on-deck circle. 2-1. That's a nasty pitch right there. Slider down and in. You know, not only will the Reds go to 9-12 since Jim Riggleman took over, one thing you have to remember, when he took the job, the Reds lost the first 3 games after he was named manager. That was that weekend series in St. Louis. So, you know, you back out of those first 3, kind of get your feet on the ground, and you're a 9-9 ball club. And I'm not so sure at the end of the day that's not where the Reds thought they had a chance to be when this season began. Is somewhere in that, you know, realistically maybe 5 to 6 to 7 under to maybe 1 or 2 over. You think it's a fair assessment?
I do. I don't think there was any expectation this team was going to go out and win 100 games this year. But in order to get back into that competitive level, you've got to kind of take a baby step. Now, you could have an enormous upswing like the difference between the Minnesota Twins from one year to the next. But that only happens once every 5 or 6 years. So, you know, the more reasonable anticipation of wins would be somewhere between 76 and 80 wins if the team plays well. You still have a young pitching staff. But the lineup now is beginning to produce the way people thought that they would. Yeah, but this bullpen is just so much better.
Nice play by Blandino, and they can't double up Locastro. 1 out in the inning. That's good play by Alex Blandino.
First baseman, number 35, Cody Bellinger.
I don't know if I've ever seen in 2 days a guy swing and miss at more pitches in the exact same spot than we've seen Cody Bellinger the last 2 nights.
And a lot of those pitches are all fastballs. I mean, look how straight up tall he stands. To me, that tells me he's a low ball hitter because he's just waiting to drop the bat head. He starts out with his bat very flat. But then when he really gets into a hitting position, the bat goes up and down. It starts flat, then it goes up and down. And then he's waiting to drop that bat head on something low.
Then why are you throwing him back-to-back breaking balls in a 4-run game in the 9th inning? You threw the first pitch in the at-bat right by him, a fastball, and then you throw 2 breaking balls in a row.
Number 3, Chris Taylor.
Now that's what he hits him with right here is a breaking ball that just kind of gets away from Gennett.
I mean, I don't say that facetiously, Chris. I ask that question sincerely. If a dummy like me can sit up here 400 feet above the field and watch a guy swing and miss at fastballs for 2 nights in a row every time you throw him one.
I don't have an answer for that.
And now you got to bring in your closer. You walk a guy and you hit a guy in the 9th inning. moment, Jim Riggleman would have told you would prefer to stay away from his closer tonight. He used Iglesias to get the save in the 9th inning last night. Remember, he used him for 2 innings. The final game of the Mets series in that 10-inning victory. So now he goes a 3rd day in a row, one of those in a multi-inning game, after Amir Garrett just inexplicably walks a batter and hits a batter here in the 9th inning with a 4-run lead.
Now this is part of the maturation process for Amir Garrett. I mean, if you want to be able to finish the ball game, you've got to get out there and finish the ball game. Doesn't all come at one time.
I mean, Iglesias was as good as it gets here last night. He faced 3 batters, struck out all 3. And look at the last 7 days for Iglesias. I mean, you know, for a week, the last 2 days are the crooked numbers. 3 of the 7 he didn't pitch at all. And 22 pitches over a 5-day stretch is not even breaking a sweat. And his stuff is some kind of good.
Well, he hung the breaking ball right there and got away with it just to be able to clip the up and inside part of that strike zone. But his stuff is off the charts. There's no question. I don't know if there's a reliever out there with the assortment of pitches that Iglesias has.
All right, so 1 more out to go. Nothing in 2, the count on Muncy, and now Iglesias tries to make it 4 straight Reds wins. In the air, long way to go here. This one is run down by Adam Duvall, and that's the end of the game. What a beautiful play made by an outstanding left fielder in Duvall. The Dodgers strand 2. And the Reds have won 4 games in a row for the first time all year.
6 runs on 10 hits, no errors.
And the first time since June of last year. And they've won back-to-back games here at Dodger Stadium for the first time since 2011.
Sure to come out early. The alumni game, 4:10 p.m. And a special tribute.
Matt Harvey, the big story tonight, 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball in his Reds debut. Reds Live is right around the corner. Great fly Duvall to end it. Reds win 6-2.